Don't forget to sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible using the link in the description box. 3 things you want to ask yourself. Number 1, what can you realistically do? Number 2, what is your backup plan for the first 3 attempts you take if you fail at all 3 of them? And then lastly, who's going to vouch for you no matter what? Hello ladies, this is Shon Shokumbi and welcome to week 2 of the Leading Like a Lady series. I developed this series to help women of the African diaspora, and that's women who are from Africa directly or who live abroad and have family who is from Africa, or as we also want to include our Black Americans. This is a series for you to learn more about how to take ownership of your place in a leadership role. And we're going step by step, leading to what's going to be at the end an opportunity for you to actually exercise some of these tools and these tips that I'm offering. Some of you might be running businesses. Some of you might just want to rise the ranks in the jobs or the organizations that you're in right now. And then there's some of you who probably want to lead as a politician, who want to actually take charge and create laws, regulations that improve the lives of yourself and others. Let's begin with week 2's topic, which is what is a good risk? I'm going to start as always with a story about why this topic is top of mind for me, or how it relates to my own journey in leadership. And it's especially true for this year that we're in right now. Somebody might be watching this from many years from today, but currently we're dealing with a very tumultuous year that's been up and down and very unpredictable, right? And in the beginning of the year, in one leg of it, as I would call it, I kind of felt like I had a very clear plan what was going to happen from week to week, day to day, etc. I was living abroad. I was actually living in Nairobi, Kenya, and I was building a lot of relationships and networks that I thought was going to be extremely helpful for the work that I was currently doing at the time. But I was stuck. I was stuck for a bit, even in knowing exactly where my life was going before things kind of got interrupted. And then when things got interrupted, the question was, is this now an opportunity to actually do the things that I really would want to do, but I was too afraid to do it? And that's really essentially the definition of a risk, right? A risk is a decision that you take, not knowing exactly what's going to happen at the end. And then we put a qualifier or adjective in the beginning of risk to assess whether it's a bad one or a good one. Taking a risk is something that is definitely going to happen in life. It's not that's not something you should avoid, and it's not something that you can avoid. At some point in time in your life, you're going to have to take a risk. And again, a risk is making a decision or making a plan of action without knowing entirely what's going to happen. Again, the question now is, what kind of qualifier do you put in front of the risk that you have taken? Is it a good one or is it a bad one? So with that being said, I would define a good risk as being able to answer the following 3 questions. What are you realistically able to do? What backup plan do you have if your first 3 attempts to do this thing fails? And who do you have to vouch for you no matter what happens? Before we go deeper into answering those questions, I want to talk about why this is a conversation that women in particular need to have. So I am a writer by heart. I feel like that is my calling. I never have had any doubt in my mind that I was able to write and do it really well. Of course, I've grown and matured in my writing and it's improved over time, but it's something that everyone around me has always acknowledged and noticed is something that I'm very, very talented at and drawn to. And this year, with the interruptions that was happening all over the world, my question to myself is, why am I not making money off of this talent that so many people have acknowledged is essentially my superpower? Something that I have been very strong in doing since a very young age. And I started journaling just to, get some things off of my chest and off of my mind. And it also, for me, journaling just helps me process thoughts a lot easier. And in one of my journals, I reflected on this internal conversation I was having with myself about why I do not feel as confident as I should in moving forward with, I don't know, I didn't even have an idea of what I was going to do with my writing. Of course, I know intellectually what you could do as a writer, journalism, writing a book, etc. But I didn't really quite know why I was hesitant to jump right into it. So I was having this internal dialogue with myself and I wrote it down. And I was thinking about Steve Jobs, right? And I was thinking about people like, and these are names that you might not be too familiar with, so please follow my blog where I go more in depth outside of these videos about the people who I'm bringing up in these conversations that I bring to you on YouTube. But I was thinking about Steve Jobs, who went to school, if I'm not mistaken, for like art or design, and ended up becoming the world's most famous CEO of one of the largest tech firms in the world. Then I was also thinking about someone he goes by Gary V, but his last name is much longer. And I was just thinking about him, and I couldn't really put a finger on what exactly he does. Like what is his core talent, or what is his core industry, or what is he specifically known for outside of just being an entrepreneur, right? Because Gary Vee is someone who has a multitude of businesses. He just opened a winery not too long ago. He has a firm that consults on marketing, specifically social media marketing, and he has his hands dabbled in a bunch of different things, right? And as I was thinking about these two men, both white, right, or at least both accepted into the white community, because Steve Jobs has a Middle Eastern background. And I was thinking about these two men and I was wondering, why do they get to kind of navigate this road of taking multiple business risk and doing multiple things that don't always seem to connect with each other, and have been so successful at it? And of course, I know that they've had some kind of failure at some point in their life, right? No one takes risk and is 100% on the dime correct all the time. So I'm not trying to say that the things that Gary Vee or Steve Jobs have done were always 100% successful, always 100% correct, right? I'm sure that in taking their risk in business that they've seen a lot of failures. Steve Jobs, one of the most famous failures is being fired from his own company, right? So it's nothing essential about them that guarantees that they should be a success, right? But they have their hands in so many different things. And another person, great example, Elon Musk with Tesla, and then he's trying to go to space as well. So these are three white men that I've just identified right now who have their hands dabbled in so many different things. And I thought about myself, and I'm kind of that person, I'm the person who has a lot of interest. Writing is definitely, again, something that's near and dear to my heart, but I recently started a skincare line called Naturally Beat, and it's something that I was very passionate about, just Black women feeling confident in their natural skin and creating products that would align and would help them achieve that. So I started my own skincare line this year, given all the tumultuousness that was going on. And I was still also doing my other business, which is consulting with African CEOs and African business owners who want to start social enterprises in various countries. But I was also really thinking about doing something in writing, and I'm still very eager to write a book. But in writing these things down, I asked myself, why is it that I am so concerned and so scared to the point of inaction with pursuing all of these different things? But then I look to people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and Gary Vee, and they're just doing it. If you've ever watched a video of Gary Vee just going off and on a video, you'll see what I mean. He is just all over the place. We look at men in particular, and we look at white men even more specifically, and watch them put their hands in different opportunities, different risks, if we want to keep it consistent, and don't bat an eye and question why they're doing it or whether they should do it. But we as women, in particular Black women, in particular African women, think that it's irresponsible. Whenever we decide as women to pursue something that we feel interested in and we do think that we are capable of doing, we think that we're being very irresponsible with releasing ourselves to dream that big and go and pursue that goal when we have all these other responsibilities that we have on our plate and need to address. That might be children. For some people in America, student loans, your reputation with your family, making sure that you're not a disappointment to them when you pursue something and fail. And I just want to first of all reassure you that that's not something that should be the reason why you don't take a risk, right? Because even when you're working for someone else, they're putting a level of risk on your back to carry for something that you didn't even build, for something that you don't even have ownership in. You're taking on a huge amount of risk without a huge amount of reward. Think about that for a second. First of all, again, just to reiterate, don't look at what other people are doing, especially men, especially white men, and think that you are not qualified or capable of doing it, and don't think that it's irresponsible of you to want to pursue it. The thing that will become irresponsible is going back to the 3 questions if you're not able to answer very specifically and with confidence why this risk should be taken. What you should be more concerned about is whether or not you can answer these 3 questions and assess if this risk is something that you should truly pursue, or whether it's something that is probably not in your best interest at this time and maybe something that you want to plan for later on in the future. The first question is, what are you realistically able to do? Now, the way that I've answered this question, going back to my skills in writing, is ask myself,